Everybody, hi every spirit, welcome very much to my YouTube channel. Sagittarius Cloud Surfer here, ready to talk about full moon in Sagittarius. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and use the links down below to know more about my content and to know more and book readings, personal consultations, dream interpretations, any of my services with me as well. So let's get started. Full moon in Sagittarius. First, what means the full moon? It feels, or no, it doesn't feel, it means, alright, extreme reactions and extreme responses, right? And of course, because it's a full moon, it always comes from your internal realm, right? Because the more basic astrologers or the fake woke spiritual community members will be like, oh, the world this, or oh, it's the full moon this, or it's that. No. The full moon represents, we have our moons full as well right now, right? Because we are born in this world, we are a part of this world, so when the moon is full, our moons are also full, right? But they fill up in different ways, depending on how your moon is aligning to the moon in the sky. To know more, book a reading with me, of course, right? So, also the full moon symbolizes the peak, the fulfillment of the moon cycle that starts on the new moon, reaches its highest point, the halfway through on the full moon, and then it goes emptying the energy, emptying the materializations and manifestations until the next new moon. So right now, with the full moon, means that you are collecting, or almost, because sometimes your manifestations and materializations come after the full moon, because sometimes on the full moon, it's when you yourself reach that high point and you finalize the process. You give to your seeds that last bit of water, you give to your circumstances the last bit of energy and attention, that climax, right? Because you might have been very stable in terms of energy and movement, spiritually speaking. Then when it's full moon time, you just give that intense energy and intense momentum, or you just were steady going up and you manifest and materialize a little bit earlier, right? So full moon symbolizes basically the fulfillment, some overextension of your emotions and feelings, and also I don't see a lot of people talking about this, but the full moon also really can make you on your edge if you feel the lack of something, right? It depends where the moon is, it depends in which house in your chart the moon is, and it depends also on how it is aligning with your own moon, right? So, full moon symbolizes overreaction and over-responses, the highest point of your manifestation, materialization cycle of this new moon cycle, overreacting and over-responding to the lack of something. But if you have been doing your spiritual job, your spiritual homework, you're gonna feel fulfilled, and that's it. You're gonna feel fulfilled, you're gonna feel you are in touch with your purpose, even if your situation is hard, or you're still not in your best life, or you're still going through something. If you're working, if you're making your way out of the bad circumstance, if you're creating a new circumstance on the full moon, you're gonna feel more relaxed. You're gonna feel, I can take a break now, or you're gonna feel, finally I'm going somewhere. Even if your physical circumstance did not change, your spirit knows it changed. It changed positions, and everything happens first in the spiritual realm, then mental realm, then emotional realm, and then physical realm, and even before the mental realm, the subconscious realm, because the subconscious is a part of the mental, or the mental is a part of the subconscious, but most times we are not aware of it. That's why we call it the subconscious, right? But if your spirit moved its position, your physical position will move as well. It just takes a bit more time, and you need to fight, quote unquote, things that you already did and things that you already attracted and brought to you. That's why the full moon is also good, because even though you might overreact to something, and that might be a full moon scenario, a destructive scenario, a transformative scenario, a scenario that is a bit chaotic, that can help you move away the objects and the materializations and manifestations, which are the internal perspective of your materializations, that were or are impeding you and blocking you to achieve a certain space or physical position as well, right? So full moon in Sagittarius means that we are overreacting and over-responding to us and others, because always with that mutable energy, it's always about us and others. So general advice, every time the full moon is in a mutable sign, it will be way easier for two things to happen. For you to be affected by the external world, and for you to blame the external world on your own things. And then it happens to others can blame you or their surroundings for their own over-exaltation and overreaction. But it's always you. You're the one with those feelings, you're the one with those visions, you're the one overreacting or allowing others' overreaction to perturb your current state. Alright? Also, before we continue, remember on the full moon is a time to protect your manifestations, to receive them, right? Imagine you have a big field, you are into agriculture, right? You have a big field and you have all these harvests, you have all these crops, right? You eat some right now because you're hungry, you gotta eat for today, but then you have to store the other crops, right? So the full moon is exactly that. You collect the crops, you eat a little bit, the satisfaction, full moon meal, full moon ritual is actually enjoying and using the crops, your manifestations, your feelings, your visions, or the actual physical things that you manifested. And then you have to store, okay, protect the others in good mentalities, in good feelings, and in good practices, right? And also, it's very important to not allow others' perspectives or your own negative, contrary perspectives to infiltrate and rotten your current manifestations. And one key thing to do that is to realize, even if you have some bad manifestations, right, is to learn from them. Understand what you did wrong or what you didn't do in the moon cycle until right now. Don't overreact to them, right? Because then you might have some good manifestations, and if you overreact to the bad ones, the good ones can become bad ones real quick as well. Alright, so it's time to protect and make sure you are using your manifestations and materializations of the full moon as well. Alright? So, full moon in Sagittarius means that we are overreacting and over-responding to ours and others' ability or lack of, right, to share, to adapt, mix, and mingle our visions, imaginations, creativity, spiritual belief systems, and the ways to obtain wisdom and knowledge, or the wisdom and knowledge that you already obtained, right? So, you might be overreacting to somebody's spiritual belief system, or with how they are expressing it, right? Or how far they can reach with that expression, and you don't. Or you are reaching out a lot with your spirituality, creativity, and imagination, and others will be overreacting to your reaching out. That can be positive. You can imagine you doing like me, YouTube videos about spirituality and shit. Others can overreact and they can feel inspired. They can feel fulfilled, or they can just be like, oh no, this makes no sense. This is just some esoteric mumbo jumbo, because we always have to remember that the full moon always opposes the sun, right? So the sun is in Gemini, it's very early degrees, it's like 5 degrees right now. No, it's 3 degrees right now, so finishing the cusp, we are now getting really into Gemini season. I'll be making a video in the next days talking about that, right? So a lot of people, or some people, might be themselves, not even their sun sign, but themselves might be opposing the full moon in Sagittarius. Because it's more normal, that I even made a video, a reel on Instagram talking about this, it's more normal for people to accept lack of knowledge, lack of wisdom, and lack of purpose, than to accept somebody try to explain some magical thing, some God work, some new technology, some ways to manifest and materialize, try to explain where the physical world comes from. And that makes me very pissed, to be honest. I hate when somebody that doesn't believe in anything in particular, they don't believe in themselves, they don't even like really understand science, because science, already has in it some spiritual beliefs, like everything is frequency and vibration, the real world is condensed light, the observer experience, where an electron is a wave or a particle, if there is an observer or not, that proves your power as an entity, right? And there is other things that science already has some spirituality into it, right? So it really makes me pissed that some people, they prefer to believe that the universe makes no sense, or it's random, or it has no purpose, and they shame or oppose in a non-balancing way other people that are trying to make sense, trying to explore the universe in a personal way, trying to understand how themselves and others create reality, trying to understand how the spiritual realm influences the physical realm, right? And with the full moon in with the full moon in Sagittarius, those people that are more logical, but actually they make less sense, because it makes no sense that everything is physical, where the physicality came from then, where it all started, right? It was from somewhere else, from something else, that created the physical realm, right? If everything was physical, we wouldn't die. Things wouldn't expire, right? Because the fact that death exists, the fact that things rotten or lose their physical qualities, means that there is something else behind it. There is something, there is somewhere to go or to be in, not just the physical realm, right? So, but with the full moon in Sagittarius, those people that are lost into logic and they can't process, right, spirituality, wisdom, and some esoteric knowledge, their spirit is rebelling against themselves, because their spirit knows, bro, what the fuck you doing? You negating your own purpose, you negating your own existence by being so stuck in your mind, right? So when they act up in bad ways, it's them just releasing all the negativity that they harbor on themselves, right? Because real spirits, even if you don't agree with what that person is saying, if they are trying to explain something, if they're trying to show something that was never shown before, if they're trying to come up with something new, real spirits will respect that. Because it's not what you do, it's not what you say, it's what you do, or it's how you do it, how you say it, and the purpose behind it. So we might disagree, right? But if both of us are trying to explain spirituality, if both of us are trying to be our goddamn selves and change the world, we're going to respect each other. We're not trying to shame each other. We're not bring each other down. We might even shout out each other. And we disagree. You know what I'm saying? But those people that are lost in logic, the first thing they do is shame the more esoteric people or more spiritually inclined people. Why? Because they can't understand. They cannot reach, they cannot compute. While the more spiritual people, in most cases, can understand the physicality and they can understand science, right? Or they can understand the more logical and physical laws of the universe in a certain degree. While the more logical person cannot even fathom, they can't even start to understand spirituality. So there is a huge difference there, and it already is showing you that the more inclined, the more spiritually inclined person is already a step ahead, because they can observe and start to analyze the more logical and scientific prospects, while the more logical person cannot even start to understand esotericism, right? But I also understand why some people might hate or thrown off some spiritual people, quote unquote, because most of what we have seen in the last years for a long time actually is La La Landism, right? Is just throwing reality out of the window, and that's not good as well, because spirituality is reality. Spirituality builds up reality. So you cannot be into spirituality and not be into reality. You cannot be into spirituality and do not understand certain scientific prospects, because science came out of spirituality, right? Science is trying to understand what the spirit has created, the physical realm, right? But if you do that, If you only do that, you're gonna get stuck because you're missing out on a part of reality, which is where the physicality came from, right? So science ain't bad, and I like science. I'm a man of science myself, quote unquote, right? But and there is actually, I know this. There is way more open-minded scientists than you think, because the scientists that are close-minded, they are more known because they want to force that into others. So they make sure that their counter spirituality is broadcasted. While the more open-minded scientists, they feel peer pressure, right? And they are already satisfied with their work. They know that other people know that that's the case, that science is spiritual, so that they don't need to force that broadcast. They don't need to force their shit into others because they already know that others know. While the more anti-spirituality people, they need to force their views because they think that others don't know it, because it ain't true. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, with a full moon in Sagittarius, it's normal for others that are not into spirituality to overreact to your spirituality, to your creativity, and to your individuality. And that's what's even worse and makes you even more mad, is people that deny their own and yours individuality, yours personal perspective. For example, certain people that they are very scientific, but they be like, esoteric mumbo jumbo. Every time somebody try to come up with a new thing, and they lack this perspective, which I have. So let me share with you. How do you think, for example, the first person that came up with the idea of an atom, how do you think they came up with that idea? Do you think they saw an atom? Or you think they had a spiritual imagination, they had a spiritual feeling, and then they made it logical, and then they made it come through? Last time I checked, we can see atoms. So how do you think, and on another note, what we call atoms is the primordial bodies of the spirit, right? Because the spirit needs to create things to experience and exist. Experience, exist, external, exiting, right? So, but these people that are very scientific and they shame other spiritual people because they're trying to explain new stuff or the old stuff in new ways, they lack the perspective to understand how science started. Do you think that the first person that tried to understand what the solar system is, do you think they went out there, or do you think they were astrologers? Right? The first person that came up with the periodic table, do you think they saw the elements, or they have a spiritual inclination and then they made sense out of it? Bro, because you can't be science guy and realistic and then not understand that you can't see these things. So you need to come up with some spiritual principles and then make sense out of it. Duh. Bro, like once again, this is a great example. I would think the first people that try to explain atoms, how they came up with that idea? Atoms, neutrons, electrons. How they came up with the first atomic scheme, which is called the pudding with raisin scheme, or something like that. Do you think they saw atoms? Do you think they saw electrons? Fuck no. They had the spiritual inclination. They were inspired because we as spirits, we create those things, and we take a lot of these things together, the atoms and whatnot, to make up the body. So we know about those things. We made those things, and then once we are aware enough, we can explain it to each other via logical. That's why I say logicality is only for us to make sense within each other, not to explain reality on its own. It's for us to explain reality to each other, because we already know reality. We already know how to create the physical realm. But because we got lost into animalistic natures, we forgot, or we got confused, and as we get more spiritual, and as we got more aware within a physical body, we're coming up to these technologies that we made up ourselves, right? So, just to conclude this point, to everybody that is extremely logic and into science, and you deny spirituality, and you deny people trying to explain things in a new way, you dumb as hell. because what you worship, and yes, you are worshiping science if you like that, came out of somebody that was more spiritual than you think, right? Science came from spirituality. Chemistry came from alchemy. You know what I'm saying? So it's completely wrong for you to deny people that are doing what your predecessors, mentally speaking, did. They had no proof, they had no element, they had no book, they had no institution, right? And they had this perspective and they made it real. They made it logical, right? Because these people that deny the new reality or the spirituality, they be like, oh, because the book says that, or because in school we learned that. Where do you think that came from? Like 100, 200 years ago, there was nobody knew what the atom was. Nobody knew even all these theories. Nobody knew about black holes and shit. So how do you think these people came to these conclusions? Because they had a spiritual inclination and made it real. So you're trying to shame on somebody that is doing just that. You lost. You don't understand. Right? So let's keep going. Let's go into spirituality and astrology right now. Right? So, full moon in Sagittarius, right? Great to analyze and understand how your spirituality and your expression of your spirituality is affecting you on your surroundings, physically speaking or esoterically speaking, because the ideas and the feelings that you create and attract represent your spiritual state. You are not those things, but you create and attract those things. So your ideas, your feelings, and your imaginations reflect your spiritual state, especially in a full moon, on a fire sign, on a mutable element ruled by Jupiter. You can't run away from it right now. And if you have a lot of air and earth, especially Gemini and Virgo alignments, you might try to run away. You might try to deny. You might feel scared. You might feel like it makes no sense. You might feel like super denialistic about what I'm saying. But you can't escape from it, right? You create these feelings. You create your circumstances. So what you create represents you, the spirit, all right? Also, full moon in Gemini, great to be inspired in the right way, but also if you don't feel super individual, if you have no spirituality, if you are not into astrology, tarot, gematria, whatever, it's a great time to open yourself a little bit and listen to others, or you might be into those things but you ain't sure, because for some people, or for most people, it's hard to make sense out of this. Not for me, this makes very sense for me, but I also, for an example, I have an Aquarius stellium. So it's easier for me to fixate and bring logicality in a unique way to these things, right? And my goal here is to broadcast those ideas and logical ways to make sense out of spirituality. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, it's also a good way or a good opportunity with the full moon in Gemini in Sagittarius to like believe in the spirit, because believe in your expansion, in your wisdom, in your knowledge. Okay, hold on, guys. My camera is bugging. My bad, guys. Okay, with the full moon in Gemini, in bro, god damn it, with the full moon in Sagittarius, fucking Gemini energy, making everything confusing. With the full moon in Sagittarius, it's great to reinforce your belief in yourself, your wisdom and knowledge, right? Because making sense out of spirituality is not like this. It's not like, oh shit, it's just like that. No, you have to continuously be aware of these things and learn, create a way to make it real, or find or create examples in the world that can explain your spiritual beliefs, right? So with the full moon in Gemini, it's great to, even if you don't have yet any way to explain it in a real way, because that's what we are balancing out with the sun in Gemini. Sun in Gemini, we want to express all this spiritual stuff in a relatable and realistic way that makes sense and others can relate to it. But the full moon in Sagittarius, it's asking that it needs to come from you, and it needs to be about your testimonies and your wisdom and your experiences and knowledge, right? But it takes time. It's the hardest thing to do in this realm, actually, is to take your spirituality and make it make sense in a broader scale, right? But there is no better feeling. I mean, there is equal feelings, but there is no better feeling than that. To have a spiritual perspective, to have a spiritual idea, to have a creativity and imagination and a vision, and then make it truthful, make it real, and make it worldwide, and even make money out of it. Because it's not about the money, it's about the value that others are giving to you, your ideas and intellectual property. Because spirituality is individuality, and there is no more unique thing than that. You know what I'm saying? You better do, right? So, reinforce that belief in yourself, reinforce that belief in your own wisdom and knowledge, because you have to slowly but surely develop mentalities and logicalities to explain those things. And the more you believe in it, the more you do it, the better you get at it. Then you'll be able to explain more things in a better way. You'll be aware of more things, and you can cruise through them in a better way as well, right? Now, don't do, or what not do in the full moon in Sagittarius, don't force your spiritual beliefs into others, because it's this mutability, and it's Jupiter. It's about freedom. It's about you and others mixing and mingling, and it's already full, true. So if you force, it's gonna explode. It's gonna go too far. So just express it, express yourself, right? But if others are not accepting it, fine. Like, you don't like others forcing their beliefs into you, so others will not enjoy you forcing their beliefs into them. There is times for that. For example, when the sun is in Aries, or Mars in Aries, or full moon in Aries, you gotta force into others your own image of yourself, not about them or the world, right? But with the full moon in Sagittarius, we need to take a more light approach. It's more about our connection and you sharing and associating your ideas than actually others believing in you. It's two different things. One thing is you actually expressing it, it's you opening up, is you sharing that. Then others believing in it, it's up to them. It's up to them accepting it and making it part of their own, the mutability. But it's your responsibility and duty to express it. It's not your responsibility and do it to make others believe in it. That's two different things, two different realms, two different worlds. You know what I'm saying? Right? Also, make sure you are making sense, right? Because why do you think people make fun of astrology? Why do you think people make fun and are kind of scared of spirituality? Because we had too much people being la la landish. We had too many people back in the days, and even right now, making no sense at all. Even to me, like, I'm into astrology, tarot, gematria, numerology, crystals and gems, and sometimes I hear people talking about astrology and spirituality and be like, what the fuck? That makes no sense. Because they are not trying to bring to reality. Sometimes I don't do a certain video, sometimes I'm not live, because I'm making sure that I'm making more sense as possible. Because this is real, this is reality. It's not because people don't know how to explain it that it's not. Right? And that's another thing that people that are into science don't understand. You are into science because somebody else already explained to you how shit works. But if you try to explain something that nobody did before, you're gonna understand the struggle, and you're gonna understand the magic, and you would stop immediately shaming on others that are trying to explain this new technology, not new technology, but the new perspective about spirituality, because you never tried to explain something that others didn't before. You go to the books, you go to Google, you go to the educational system, but you are not trying to explain something new, and you don't understand how it is. So let others that are trying to do so, do it, and shut your ass up. Listen, be inspired, be motivated, and then you do it on your own way. You know what I'm saying? And also, what makes me be even more pissed about these scientific people that deny spirituality is they never explain why spirituality doesn't make sense. They just be like, no. They just be like, oh, it's esoteric memo jumbo, but they never explain, even within their own scientific terms, why it doesn't make sense. Right? So, like, are you into science? Or are you just opposing me? Because if you're really into science, you will explain me in scientific ways, in realistic ways, why this spirituality, this mumbo jumbo is wrong. But no, they're just like, oh, that's bullshit. And they never say why. They never explain why. Right? It makes no fucking sense, bro. Come on. We need something. We need more proof over here. You gotta prove me that I'm wrong. It's not enough to say that I'm wrong. You gotta explain it. Because real spiritual people, they always explain why they are right. And most times, even we don't shame on science, right? We actually, like, I like that. I like science. I like how we can all be on common grounds about it, but it's basically science, it's incomplete, right? Because it only explains the physical and doesn't explain where the physical comes from, right? So with the full moon in Sagittarius, it's also great, coming back now to more astrology and shit, it's also great to not only share your own visions, but also allow others to share their visions. Even if they don't know shit, right? Allow them to share their visions, but make sure that you are being realistic when expressing and when receiving others' visions, imaginations, wisdom, and knowledge. Because like I was saying, it was too many people, right, that were into astrology and spirituality, making no sense at all, right? Being super la-la-landish and not being realistic, and everything is love and light, everything is kumbaya, everything is just, you just gotta believe it. No, you gotta believe it, do it, imagine it, vibe in it, be it in realistic ways. And it takes time and it takes effort, like everything in this world does. You know what I'm saying? So let's get into the astrology and spirituality right now. I mean, we already are. Let's get into some astrological and spiritual tools, like the tarot readings. Let's go. So let's take a tarot card for today's energy. There we go. My bad, guys. So today's energy is represented by the High Priestess. So everybody is receiving messages from the divine and from their spirit through any shape and form possible. It can be through a body pain. It can be through, like, imagine you watching television and now it's some ad time and you react in a specific and peculiar way to an ad, into a key word or into a key sentence. That's a sign from the divine, from your higher self, from your spirit. You know what I'm saying? And let's see how to use that in the best way possible with our Dragon Oracle reading. There we go. Okay, 2 cards actually. 2 dragons. Pure white dragon from Orion. So show your light, show your wisdom and knowledge, but in a logical and relatable way. And only go for war, only going to have opposition energies when somebody is limiting your experience or when somebody is trying to impede you to go for your imaginations, dreams, and illusions. And you have the Earth and Fire Dragon, bring some reality, bring some stability, bring some sense, calculation, and privacy to your visions, passions, motivation, aggressiveness, frustration, and spiritual belief system, but also bring passion and bring spirituality to your reality, to how you make sense and are stable in your life. All right? And let's go into tarot card for all the signs. Full moon in Gemini, full moon in Sagittarius, for all the Aries, sun, moon, rising. Sun, moon, rising, and Mars, you guys are trining the full moon in Sagittarius. So we have a gift to overreact and overrespond to you and others, sharing their beliefs, sharing their wisdom and knowledge, and sharing their testimonies and how they expand. Or you overreacting to yours or others' lack of expansion, wisdom, and knowledge. Reverse strength, reverse Leo, reverse the other fire sign. So you can be too fixed, too stubborn, or too detached, okay, into your own world, into your own visions, for the wrong ways, for the wrong visions, or somebody around you, because mutable energy from the full moon is being too fixed and too stubborn in their own visions, and it's making you misunderstand yourself and others. Don't be on yourself, be clear. Let's go Taurus sun, moon rising, Venuses, and Scorpio sun signs. You are inconjuncting, misunderstanding the full moon in Gemini, in the Sagittarius, so you might misunderstand your own overreactions, and you might misunderstand why others are so reacting and responding, or even yourself, to spirituality, belief systems, wisdom, and knowledge. Alright, but you have Ace of Pentacles, so you have a unique opportunity or unique way that is motivating and is inspiring to make sense, be realistic, or obtain profit and stability in your life. Let's go to Gemini now. Gemini sun, moon rising, and Mercury. You are opposing the full moon in Gemini, in Sagittarius. So you might be feeling everybody is too spiritual, is too la-la-landish, they make no sense. Or you might be hating everybody, you might be feeling super weird, you might be trying to run away from your feelings and emotions, or you're being balanced by it and you're bringing purpose, you're bringing a higher version of intelligence to your circumstances and your mind. Alright? And you have reversed Prince of Wands, yeah, mutable fire, which is Sagittarius. So you are misunderstanding how you and others, or why you and others are sharing, adapting, and associating yours and others' visions, imaginations, feelings, spiritual belief systems, creativity, passion, motivation, anger, and frustration. Let's move to Cancers, aka Cardinal Water. Sun, Moon, Rising, and Jupiter, because Jupiter is exalted in this sign. And you guys are also inconjuncting the full moon in Sagittarius. So you might be misunderstanding why people being so external, or why people are so reacting to others or a worldwide spiritual belief system, because you are the same thing as Sagittarius, because Jupiter is exalted in your sign and Jupiter rules Sag, but you are more personal and more internal. Sag is more worldwide, more about the environment, and more external and more expressive, right? Okay, and you have Princess of Wands. So you are developing a new internal way to make sense about yours and the world's visions, imaginations, passion, motivation, aggressiveness, frustration, and spiritual belief systems. Alright, just make sure it's not a new way to overreact and misunderstand yourself and the world. Let's move to Leo. Leo sun, moon, rising, and that's it, right? You are trining full moon in Sagittarius. So you have a gift to overreact to yours and others' ways to associate spiritual belief systems, imaginations, visions, and wisdom, or you have a gift to be lost and to feel scattered and to not feel sure or unique about yourself and your visions. All right? There we go. Reversed Cancer, reversed the Chariot. So you are creating new emotions, new feelings, new purposes, and new ways to be internally expandable and to be internally connected with your spirit and your purpose, but you are misunderstanding those things, right? Because this full moon in Sagittarius is making you realize perhaps how much you are not into your spirituality, or perhaps you were not dealing well with how the world and others are going about spirituality, or you're just feeling that others are not caring so much about your perspective, or you are not caring so much about your own perspective and you feel weird about it. But that's because you're creating a new way to feel. You're creating a new spiritual destination, all right? Let's go into Virgo. Virgo Sun, Moon, and Rising, and Mercury. You are squaring the full moon in Sagittarius. So you are learning how to overreact and overfeel your ability and others' abilities to share and associate your feelings, visions, imaginations, and spiritual belief systems. And others are learning from you how to be more realistic, private, and make more sense in those areas. All right, so let's see what extreme learning lesson Virgos are going through right now. It is reversed Emperor. So you are misunderstanding how you and others are being authoritarian, unique, and individual, because you gotta make your own image, you gotta make your own rules, you gotta have your own visions, you gotta have your own beliefs, but you're misunderstanding the purpose or how to actually go out there or even to yourself and affirm those things. All right, but you're learning how to do that still in a mutable way, right? Let's go Libra, Libra Sun, Libra Moon, and Libra Rising, Libra Venuses, and Saturn, because Saturn is exalted in Libra. You are sextiling the full moon in Sagittarius, so you have an opportunity to overreact and overrespond in a more logical and sophisticated way about yours and others' ways to share and associate their beliefs, their feelings, their creativity, and spiritual belief systems. And also, you have the opportunity to bring reality in a more sophisticated and still light way. All right, and there you go. Nine of Cups. You have the opportunity to elevate your spirituality, to elevate how you feel about yourself, to elevate how you make sense and can communicate about deep internal and subconscious elements and structures. And you have an opportunity to elevate how you can show others spirituality and the internal realm. All right, let's move into Scorpio. Scorpio Sun, Moon, Rising, Pluto, Uranus, and Mars. You are fatally attracting the full moon in Sagittarius, so you might feel super exposed, you might feel unsafe, or you might feel like you can connect your feelings, desires, and purpose to others. Just make sure to not go too far with any of those visions and feelings. And we have two cards, we only want one. Right, we only want one. For all the Scorpios out there, what's the card for the full moon? In Sag, we have reversed Ace of Cups. Okay, so you have a very unique feeling, a very unique purpose, a very unique desire, attachment, or emotion or connection, but you and others are misunderstanding, misusing, or misjudging that very unique feeling, emotional purpose, or attachment, or desire. Or you are misunderstanding how to share that with others. All right, let's move to Sagittarius. There you go, already 7 of Cups for the Sagittarius. So you are the full moon, you are overreacting the most, or others are overreacting about you the most, or you are attracting people that are into you the most or that are against you the most. So be careful and separate from all emotions and feelings so you don't have too much water in your cup, and make sure to set your purpose to connect with new emotions and feelings, new relationships, new desires, and new spiritual purposes, so you don't go and, because it's like throwing the old water away, so you can fill your cup with new water without it going too much out of the cup. Alright, and create flood scenarios. Let's move into Capricorn. Capricorn Sun, Moon, Rising, Mars, and Saturn. You are fatal attracting the full moon in Sagittarius, so you might be feeling you can't start to grasp spirituality. You might be feeling like you can't make sense out of it. You might be feeling like your status might be perturbed if you express about your spirituality, or you feeling like others are actually making a bit more sense, or you can help others make a bit more sense about their spirituality, feelings, and imaginations. And there you go, the card for you is like the Libras. So here the Saturn, because Saturn rules Cap and is exalted in Libra, they got the Nine of Cups. So you have an opportunity to elevate your emotions and feelings, to elevate how you process the internal and the spiritual realm, to elevate your own self-esteem, and to elevate how you create new ways to make sense, to have limits and boundaries, and to create networks and teamworks around spirituality, spiritual purpose, dreams, and illusions. Alright, and let's go into Aquarius. Aquarius Sun, Moon, Rising, Saturn, Mercury, because Mercury is exalted in Aquarius, not in Virgo, and Uranus. There we go. There you go. It's you guys. It's us. Winter, Princess of Swords. So you are sextiling the full moon in Sagittarius. So you have the opportunity to still be very fixed and unique, to still be logical and make sense, but now you are overreacting to you and others sharing, right, spirituality, sharing feelings, visions, imaginations, spiritual belief systems, testimonies, wisdom, and knowledge. And you have the opportunity, right, to separate a little bit from that, to be more on your own terms, to be more on your own mind, to be more on your own unique way to share spirituality, so you can develop a new intellectual way to react and respond to yours and others' feelings, visions, imaginations, and spiritual belief systems, right? So you might feel a bit detached, you might feel like you're not a part of the party, right? But you're just on your own corner trying to make sense of everything so you can have the best vision and the best communication of them all. Alright? And lastly but not least, powerful Pisces, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune. You are squaring the full moon in Gemini, so you are learning how to overreact and over-respond, right? Or how to not overreact and over-respond to yours and others' visions, imaginations, spiritual belief system, wisdom, knowledge, and testimonies. So let's see what is the card for you guys. And it is Oh, wait. Virgos also have that. Virgo, so your opposition in you're sharing a lot today. Reversed Emperor, reversed Aries. So either you are misunderstanding how to be affirmative, how to be the owner of your image, how to be the owner of your ideas, feelings, actions, expressions, passion, motivation, aggressiveness, frustration, spirituality, spiritual belief systems, or creativity, or others are misunderstanding you and reacting in weird ways to you because they feel you being too much. They feeling you too unique, you too expressive, you too fiery, you too imaginative, you too strong in your beliefs. That doesn't exist. You cannot be too strong in your beliefs. You're always strong enough. So either you're misunderstanding yourself, maybe you're misunderstanding others that are not doing those things, or you are being misunderstood because you are applying and you are learning how to be the owner of your ideas, feelings, visions, and spirituality. Alright, so that's it. That's all for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Your support is greatly appreciated. I wish you the best thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, a whole bunch of individuality, creativity, and responsibility as well. Make sure to not overreact, but make sure to enjoy your spirituality, make sure to enjoy spirituality in general, to believe in yourself, to believe in the divine, to believe in things outside of the physical realm, and to believe in your goddamn self, because we created this world together. So make sure to believe in yourself, to believe in all possibilities, and to remember that the best way to be is to be your goddamn self. If you want to know more about this full moon, book a reading with me, and we'll see you on the